Welcome to the Long Walk Out podcast, presented by New Zealand Park Hunting. This is part 2 of a 2-part series, so if you haven't caught part 1 yet, please go back and give that a listen. Otherwise, this is part 2 of 3 stags down and the 20-hour walk out that broke us. I really hope you enjoy the journey we're about to go on, because at times we sure didn't, and you're about to find out all the details. So we wake up on day 3, and at this point I don't think we'd realise what we quite had ahead of us that day.
No.
Did we? But what we did know is that we had 3 stags to process. So we'd gutted 2 of them and hung them up.
Hung the 2 up,
Yeah. And then we'd brought back the cuts from Codi's big stag. So we still had to process 2 full stags and process 3 heads.
Yeah, to get rid of every last piece of weight we possibly could.
Yeah. And pack down camp, pack all our gear in, and basically get back to the road end. Not just the hut, but the road end.
Back to the road end.
So that was our plan.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, we were up pretty early. We were pretty stuffed, but
stags still roaring. Had a good sleep that night, but we were listening to stags while I was doing that.
Yeah, they were still roaring.
Yeah,
it was still quite miserable, just foggy and misty, and sort of drizzly.
Yeah,
but it was alright, you know.
Yeah.
So I think we were pretty focused that morning on getting our jobs done.
Yeah,
and getting out of there, because we obviously couldn't shoot anymore. We'd planned to come out that day anyway, you know, so...
And we knew it had taken us 9 hours from hut to...
to the truck.
Hut to tent, campsite, and also there was... the run in was an hour 25, but that was basically downhill the whole time.
Yeah.
So we knew we had uphill and we knew we had a lot of weight, so we sort of didn't really do our calculations we should have really realised it was going to be... bigger than what we thought.
Yeah, it was never going to equal what we did coming in.
No, absolutely not.
Because it wasn't easier in any way.
It was much harder on the way out, especially from hut to ute. That was much harder because we're going...
Because that was a lot of uphill on the way out. So, you know, looking back now, we hadn't exactly planned that walk out very well with the fact of what we had to achieve.
Yeah.
But nothing at this point had come up that we were in trouble, you know. No. We were just going to have a hard day, and we were going to get out, and we were going to have quite the story to tell. So we got everything packed up, we got all the meat loaded, and even that itself, like luckily you had cable ties.
Cable ties, lots of cable ties.
We had paracord, like we had you should have seen our bags. There'll be a shot of it, you know, coming up so you can have a look, but every spare bit of space was taken up.
Every zip was bursting nearly, and
so, it was quite an ordeal just to get to that stage.
And even fresh, we both couldn't stand up with our bags on our back without.
That's when I knew we were in trouble. Yeah, because I went to pick mine up and I don't think I could.
Yeah, even not on your back, even trying to pick it up, just grab the handles. We could not physically lift our bags off the ground.
A deadlift, you could, you know, get some momentum, but to try and sling it on your back, it was like, no, that's not happening.
No way, there's no slinging.
So I think at this point I realised we were in quite a bit of trouble, but it wasn't until I got my bag on and then I think you helped me up and I went to take a step that I realised the level of trouble I was in. And you equally, no doubt.
Yeah.
But, you know, being the battlers we are,
determined
not to leave meat behind and all the rest of it, we were determined to get out. So off we went.
Yeah, and that's where it starts.
That's where it started. At this stage, I think we knew that we were in trouble, but we were still optimistic, you know, that... there was not going to be any problem getting out, but it was going to be hard.
I think you even said sort of, we'll be back at the ute before dark. Like that was the goal.
Yeah.
But it was 10:30 at this stage.
That's
and
right,
we didn't
yeah.
do the calculations that physically actually was not possible. Even without a bag on our back, I don't think we would have been back at the ute before
You've
dark.
been damn well to get back that quickly.
Yeah.
So, yeah. To try and get out of there on the one go was, without realising, but what we know now, it was never going to happen.
No.
So yeah, off we went, and we only had a little tiny climb initially, and then it was downhill into the creek, right? But then our biggest obstacle was the 1,000. So we'd just come from 1,000, we dropped down to the creek, and that was probably a couple of kilometres down into there, and then back up to 1,000 metres. And this is, all the while we're stopping quite frequently because we had to, but also because the stags were going nuts.
Yeah,
Just like, even right from the start, we were hearing them.
Yeah, as soon as we
all over
started
the place.
walking, those initial ones we heard on the second day, they just roared and roared and roared. We didn't even hunt other than that first day. We didn't even hunt for those again.
No.
But they were still roaring and roaring.
They were down there, right? Yeah. So I mean, we were pretty pumped because we thought, we might be to get a bit of footage or get one to come into us and we can have a look at it, and so it was cool.
Yeah.
At one stage, I think I actually took my pack off and went down to see if I could get closer to one that I'd seen on a previous hunt.
Yeah.
The same one that was frequenting the wallow down the bottom of the creek. But I don't know what happened, but I didn't get close to him at all.
Nah.
And then I had to come back up to you.
Yes.
So anyway, we dropped down in the creek, and then what was about to come next was probably the making and breaking of us that day.
Going back up to that 1,000.
For our energy levels in our bodies, and but so we knew it was going to be tough. Boy, we had a bit of a break in the creek.
Yeah, and I think the roaring probably kept us mentally happy.
True.
If
So
there's no roaring, if there's
Yeah.
no roaring and it was boring and just walking out, but we had stags going from every direction, and that kept us. Yeah.
But at this stage, it was already well after lunchtime, and we hadn't even climbed 1,000 metres, and then we had to get on the other side of it, which was our longest distance from the top of the 1,000 back to the track.
Yeah.
Once we were back to the track, we knew that we'd be okay, but the bush bashing and stuff required for the off-track stuff makes that even that bit harder with load, of course, because we reckon we probably had close to 80 kilos.
Well,
each.
yeah.
I wish we knew now.
I wish we weighed it, but we filled up just the meat, and everything was saturated. All our clothes were saturated. All our big jackets.
That's right. Nothing.
Everything was saturated, and we filled with meat. The chili bin. How many litres was that? 75 litre. What?
Yeah.
75 litre chili bin that we couldn't close the lid on. A 75 litre chili bin of pure meat.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Exactly. So up the hill we went, and it was slow going, really slow going.
Yeah. And then we had that one come in that you.
We probably got 3/4 of the way up, maybe 2/3 of the way up.
Yeah.
And we just sat there on a log, and I don't know if we'd heard it from further down, but we got to where it was almost sort of parallel to it.
Yeah.
And we got the stag roaring, and we've got some little bit of footage we'll chuck up as well to show you.
And it was the same sort of roar as this big boy. It was that aggressive, angry, different sounding to any of the other roars again. And he just sounded that, that bigger. And there was actually 3 roaring. There was him, and then over the other side where we'd just come down from, there was one roaring over there.
That's right.
And then there was one in behind us.
To our left.
There was actually 3 in a triangle roaring to each other. Yeah.
So we sat there, and we got him, responding really well, and he started coming into us. And he just wouldn't break through the trees, or he got to a point, and then, we could hear him. But, I just wish we could have, at that stage, gone one of us sneak in.
And just record it. Or,
just record it. But we were so exhausted. Like, to get our packs off and on, it doesn't sound difficult, but it was extremely difficult. Like, just doing that movement And once you got the pack off, of course, you didn't want to get it back on. So we just sat there and we thought, oh no, he'll break through, and he didn't, but we got some footage of the roaring.
I think he got close enough to see us.
Yeah, maybe we didn't see him because we were in the open.
Yeah, because you pulled up your gun at one point just to. So
Yeah.
I don't think you were going to shoot him unless he was a
record breaker.
Yeah,
and we would have come back and got him or something.
but probably just to see through the scope, or you sort of were trying to look. And I think he's seen us.
Yeah, because we were on that spur and we didn't make any effort to disguise ourselves.
Within 40 metres, he come right in again.
So looking back now, but we weren't thinking straight at that stage, and it was probably 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Around then.
Yeah, getting to that point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Three.
Maybe a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
So anyway, we left him and we carried on up to the leading ridge. And the leading ridge, then we had to go up to the top of the ridge, which is the 1,000 metre mark, to get back on to where we'd, come up from on the first day.
Yeah.
So that was our plan. So we were on this leading ridge and we were on a relatively pretty easygoing area of it, and Cody and I looked at the map and thought, is there a way that we can get down to the track a bit quicker? Because once we had to climb all the way up to the top again and then drop all the way down, we had a good look at the map and we thought, if we drop down here, drop down and then there's some flat area and then we're onto the track.
Yeah, rather than doing a bit of a triangle, we could just go straight down towards the track. We're like, oh wow, here we go.
It seemed like it was going to save us a lot of time, and because it was only downhill, we just have to go down.
Yeah.
And then we're on flat and then track. So little did we know at the time, we're about to make a very bad choice.
Yeah, that was the terrible, terrible decision.
Yeah. Looking back now, to take a route that we had never walked before, fading light, and we didn't know what we were facing below us, and we could see it was steep from the topography.
Yeah, and Topo was we knew that the first couple of 100 metres might have been pretty average going, and then it looked like it was going to be mint.
Yeah, and then when you got to the bottom, it just looked like it was flat.
Yeah.
And was like, oh, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
So anyway, we made the call.
Yeah.
We made it. It wasn't the right call, but at the time, we never knew that, and we just thought for us to climb again now, that just would have broke us, but it's what we should have done. And then we would have got to the 1,000 metres, dropped down like we always do, and we would have been okay. So anyway, we start dropping down, and it was pretty hard going. Like, it was steep. The bush was some of the worst bush I've ever encountered.
Yeah, but not... So all the walking we had done up to that point was... It was tough, and and it wasn't just because it got dark, I don't reckon.
Well, it hadn't got dark at this point. It hadn't got dark,
but where it got to the hands and knees crawling through, it was when it got dark.
Yeah.
So we hit the hardest bush.
And we had, did you have 2 sets of antlers?
Yeah, I had these two.
And it was catching on every other tree and branch.
Steeplejack
it was...
Yeah.
So we were dropping into some of these places, like Cody said. We were actually hands and knees, and you get into a spot and you actually couldn't move.
Yeah.
And I'd need Cody to come behind me and clear some stuff so I could carry on, because I couldn't back out.
Yeah.
So I needed to push through, and that's when it started getting dark. So okay, let's get our headlights on, which we did, and then we carried on a little bit further down, and we got to a spot, and I think you came to me. And what do you remember what you said at that point?
I do remember what I said.
It's a pretty crucial point.
Yes, but this was after something else that happened. So by then, all the steeplejack and all the cable ties started coming loose.
That's right.
So that started getting frustrating. I was getting sick of the bags and everything.
Resetting them.
We had to do it a couple of times, and so that was a nightmare. I think the antlers fell off the bag at one point, and we sort of said to each other, we've only got enough energy. I think Troy said to me, look, I've only got enough energy to get myself through. I can't help you.
Physically.
And it was the same with him. I couldn't help him and he couldn't help me. We just had to get through by ourselves, and it was a mission. But then, because I had the big boy on my back, I couldn't slide down anything on my back because the antlers were getting caught.
Because we were pretty much sliding like you would on a slide in the playground a lot of it.
And you were able to, with the littlest 6, it was quite tight, and you were able to slide down on your bum. Yeah. And we got to an area that I had to go down on my tummy and go down backwards, basically. And Troy said, there's a bit of a drop here, but you'll be right. You know, he slid down it reasonably easy. And I went down, and as I landed, because I had to free fall for probably a metre, it wasn't that high, sort of a metre or so, fell and landed, and as I landed I fully went backwards and tumbled and did 2 full somersaults with my bag on, somersaults, and thinking I'm going to die here, and landed, and I was like, nothing hurts and I'm all good, and got a bit of a funny feeling in my ribs, and yeah. And then it was about half an hour after that is when I said to you, the line that you were asking was...
we got to a moment, and remember, well, you won't know this, but we swore ourselves to secrecy. At some point on this trip, we said nobody is ever going to find out the details of what's happening to us right now. And little did we know it was going to get even worse. So a lot of these details, our wives don't know the full... No.
Or
anyone.
I want to go hunting again.
Yeah.
Because the thing I felt in my ribs, I discovered, was one of the points had actually pierced and put a little hole in me, and I was like, so that's when I was like, oh, this is getting scary. And I went to Troy, and he was getting done at that point. He was, as you can imagine, we were both exhausted, but that's when I said the line of, Troy, I'm now scared for my life.
That's right.
Yeah.
That was pretty tough to hear.
Yeah. And we physically couldn't set a tent up where we were. Yeah. We were on, not vertical, but near on vertical.
Because when you said that, I didn't, in my mind, I hadn't dismissed it or disagreed with it.
Yeah.
Because I actually felt the same. But I knew that I had to pull you back up.
You had to. You were the reason to keep us going and get us to safety. You knew that
where we were was not safe,
and the hut was. We sort of thought was only another hour. You know, the day we'd gone through, it was like we've got getting our tent out and everything. Everything was saturated. Getting that out and undoing our bags would have been a nightmare.
And there was nowhere to set up. Like literally, we wouldn't have found a single spot.
So Troy had to be the positive one, saying we'll be all right. We'll take it slow, and get us through. Because I was mentally at that point, up to the point of saying I'm done. Like
and we're only halfway down, aren't we? You know?
Yeah.
Really, we're only about halfway down. So I think that you got a bit of a second wind at that point.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's where you reassured me, Cody, we've got to get to the hut.
Yeah.
We've got. Yeah. So I mentally had to go, okay, right. Yeah. Come out of it. Get out of it.
Remember, we had no food either. No water.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is embarrassing again.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had water during the day and cross creeks and all that.
Yeah. But to bring our weight down, and we didn't have any area to store water.
So we had to go up to 1,000 and then back down again. So
without water, basically.
Yeah.
So we carried on down, and like we were having multiple falls, like because those of you who have gone through the bush in headlights, you don't see the perspective of what's below your feet. Yeah. So your eyes and your torch is sort of ahead of you, but if you have your torch down, you don't see what's in front of you.
Yeah.
So you have to be looking ahead of you. So you get to spots and that would look okay, and you'd just free fall and slide, and oh, okay, yeah, sweet, I'm all right.
Yeah.
Sometimes you go, gee, that could have been a lot worse. And I got to one, and we were pretty close to the bottom at this stage.
Very close to the bottom, which is so disappointing because of how it was almost like, really?
Got to one of these situations, had no idea there was a fall there. I think I knew there was something in front of me, but I just went off it, and it was a lot more than I thought.
Yeah, and did you somersault, or did you just sort of...
I think I did, and then I put my arms down to stabilise me at some point of that falling, and that's when I tore all my tricep.
Yeah, and seeing that and hearing that, and it's just freaky, like just, you don't know if Troy's going to reply back at that point. It's like, oh, is he dead? Like, what? And then, he's like, I'm all right. And it's like, oh, thank goodness.
I would have said that even if I wasn't.
And then you try to fob it off, and you didn't even tell. I didn't actually even know about your arm until I think we were home.
Probably.
Yeah, you didn't even tell me about your arm because you had to get us to the hut, and you wouldn't have wanted me to know that you were bad.
So yeah, we made it to the bottom, which mentally was a good milestone for us.
Oh yeah, getting that. Yeah. But then we were bloody 20 metres from what felt like 20 metres to the track, and we just could not.
Well, it was more than that, but each time we thought we were getting closer, you go through some flat, and then you'd hit this creek or this depression.
Yeah.
And you drop down, and then to climb out of those, I was using everything I had left.
Yeah.
We couldn't help each other because pulling and pushing and you didn't have energy for that.
And by now it's 11 o'clock at night too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And if you take your bag off, you're not going to get it back on. So, yeah. And I don't know, it seemed like we had half a dozen of those that we went through.
Yes, yeah.
It looked like it was meant to be flat, and then the track was right there. But it just wasn't,
Yeah.
And we're having little bits of water, but, not enough to keep us hydrated, because we knew that we needed to.
Yeah.
So we were having little bits of water here and there through these little creeks and whatnot. But do you remember the roaring through that area?
Oh yeah, we had one come. we had one come right into us again. Yeah.
So that was picking us up again.
Yeah.
And
we knowing we were that close to the track too was that
true.
mentally was amazing.
We were getting close.
Had we called at that point that we're not. We were obviously aiming for the hut now, not the ute.
Yeah, well that was the thing. To set up the tent. Yeah, we could have, but it just meant we still had to do it tomorrow.
Oh no, sorry. I mean, and even not. Like the extra night, we were supposed to be going home on that.
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know when we actually called, okay, we are now staying.
We're only getting to the hut.
We are staying at the hut. We are not getting back to the ute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely that was a very good call.
Yeah. Yeah, but getting back to that track was just, it was about 11, was it? And
yeah, I'm going to say about 11, maybe 10:30 p.m.
Yeah. And we thought that was going to be easy, but we got to the point that, we were only able to walk 20 metres and we had to sit down and have a break for a couple 5-10 minutes because we were we had nothing. We had nothing in us. The tanks were empty.
Oh, they were beyond empty. And
we
we're having all these messages come through too. So, our loved ones at home going, what's going on? They're meant to be, at least hearing from us on the road.
Yeah.
And little did they know.
And we've sort of got a bit of a thing that you don't worry until on the day we're expected out, don't sort of start worrying until after dark.
Yeah.
If you haven't heard from us after dark, then maybe start, getting a little bit more concerned. And, we're talking now 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and no one's heard from us.
Yeah. So we did. We flicked off some messages once we got to the track.
Yeah.
Again.
What was the one most important message that went out that wasn't to the loved ones, but was to...
Oh, yeah. So, of course, we're trying to think about how we can get out of this blooming block. And I had a cell phone number for a local helicopter pilot. So we devised this plan, that we'd just drop the bags and we'd get him to take them out for us.
Yeah, or at least from the hut,
a great plan. Didn't end up working out.
No, because, we didn't know that till the hut. So the message went out and I was thinking, sweet, this is it. We're getting
we're saved.
The bags taken out. And then, it wasn't, I don't know if you've seen the message earlier or you waited till we got to the hut, but we got to the hut and the first thing Troy told me is, oh, by the way, we're not getting flown out of here, or the bags aren't.
To his credit, he did answer and he said, look, if I had been around, I would have, but he was nowhere near our area and just it wouldn't work out. So, so we're on the track. We messaged our ladies, got a couple of messages off and we met with probably more questions than we had answers for, but also we just wanted to get back to the hut. So trying to get service and we had the GPS servicing device. So we were getting messages out, but it was pretty brief.
Yeah.
And they probably knew something was going on, but of course we were not going to go into details. So, but it took us. It was probably 2 hours to cover a 700-meter stretch to the hut, roughly, and a little bit uphill as well. But I think Cody, you were doing better than me at this point.
Yeah, that's when, as soon as you got to the track, that's when you were like, I'm done.
Yeah.
So you had you had got us to the track, because I don't know what would have happened without you being the moral support to get me through.
Yeah.
Because after my bail, I was all over. I was finished, and then watching you bail. So you got us to the track, but then from the track, that's when I think you even said to me, I don't know when you said it to me, but you said, I actually don't know if I can get to the ute. Yeah.
Yeah, and that would have said a lot, because, through many difficult things in my life, I've probably never said that.
Yeah.
That was probably the first time
so
I've ever
that's
given up.
Yeah, and that scared me, because Troy doesn't ever give up, and Troy would. Yeah. So when he was done, I was like, wow, if you're not going to make it, how the heck am I going to make it? Like this, yeah.
So, and by this stage, we're 11 hours in.
Yeah.
Solid.
Yeah.
Like, small breaks here and there, but we're 11 hours at max, like over max capacity and what we could physically do.
Yeah.
And we just had to make that hut,
Yeah.
And so it took us 2 hours to get to that hut, but we did.
We made it.
We made it, and credit to Cody, for that last 2 hour push. I needed that. And we took those packs off.
Oh well, we've made it back. It was the hardest day of my life.
That was a good moment.
Yeah.
But it was hard, because as good as that was, we knew the next day we had to do a very hard climb. A zigzag track up a very steep face, and lots of up and downs back to the vehicle.
Yeah.
So, it was mixed emotions.
We're back. That was the hardest day of my life, and that is such an it's the hardest day of my life by a country mile. I've never been through anything even close to that before. But then,
and probably never, I hope never again.
No.
So, obviously, we're out of food. We are very thirsty, and we had no food with us. So we knew that we'd survive, because we'd still eaten that day, and we'd eaten well up to that morning. But we had just hoped that there was some food in the hut. I think we could remember maybe there was something there.
Yeah.
From the first night we'd stayed on the way in.
Canned stuff
But we didn't really know, So we opened up the hut, and did you find the food, or?
Can't remember. But
Well, this is 12:30 a.m. And we found a packet of noodles each.
And tuna.
That's right. And that was like, you couldn't have found something better. Although we had to cook up water,
Yes.
So we put the water on, we put these noodles in, and you would think that we would have consumed them in microseconds.
Yeah. Yes.
But something strange happened, Cody, and do you want to explain this?
Yeah, so Troy, we weren't really talking at this point. We were just done.
Yeah.
Even communicating was hard at that point. We just wanted to sleep. And I was eating these noodles, and I was wondering why the roof of my mouth was absolutely burning to the point that I nearly couldn't eat the food. And I should have, like Troy said, just inhaled this and 4 times over. And I could hardly finish. And I said to Troy, because he was struggling, and I sort of said to him, why aren't you eating that? And he's like, oh, the roof of my mouth's burning. And I was like,
I couldn't chew.
I was like, so's mine. I can hardly even eat this. And both of us were sort of dumbfounded by that. Was it the mix of the noodles and the tuna? Because we just mixed it all together. It wasn't till I got out and looked it up. Why was the roof of my mouth burning after eating it? And came back saying that is severe dehydration.
Yeah, and we had no idea.
Yeah.
We hadn't even clicked that we might need to have a whole lot of water after 13 hours of the most difficult adventure of our life.
Yeah.
So we managed to get them down eventually.
We ate.
It was very slow. It was the hardest meal I've ever eaten. But also the best.
It would have taken us half an hour at least to eat these noodles when we were dying to get to sleep.
And then we were just straightening our sleeping bags and
out like a light.
We were out. Man. And that was the end of our 14 hour walkout.
Yeah, 10:30 till 12:30 a.m.
Oh, day 4. I think we set the alarm for probably 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
6:30 maybe.
yeah, we were already in quite a bit of trouble because we were meant to be working.
Yeah.
It was a work day. It was Monday. And, yeah, we still had a big walk out and then a big drive home.
Yeah.
So it was still another big day ahead. And at this point, again, very limited food because we were fully relying on what was left at the hut. And I think we scrambled together whatever we could find.
Yeah.
Whatever was left.
Barley sugars or whatever it was.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit of energy, something to get us back up to the vehicle. And boy, was that hard to put those packs on again, eh, Cody?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I think going into this day, because of the amount of uphill required, I was pretty worried because our bodies were obviously in no way recovered from the day before. And we'd only had, a maximum of 6 hours sleep, even less, probably five and a half hours sleep. So, yeah, it was going to be a tough walk out and continue the long walk out from the first 14 hours. And I knew that it was probably going to be around 4 to 5 hours out from there, is what I estimated it out to be. So, yeah, we set off knowing that, we just had to get back to the vehicle and then we wouldn't have to put those packs back on ever again. So, yeah, I think we started off reasonably okay. It's kind of relatively flat for the first, half kilometre, something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, you hit the creek and then you have to go up the zigzag track, and yeah, that's when it really hit.
Yeah, that was terror.
That was a tough climb, really tough. But just one foot in front of the other, lots of breaks. I think that Cody was in a better place physically, than me.
Yeah, because you had said again in the morning, I don't know if I can get to the ute.
Yeah.
So you were still in that mindset of the night before, once we had made the track, that you actually didn't know if you could make it.
Yeah. So, yeah, it wasn't a good way to go into that day and continue on that day, but I knew that I could make it if I just kept walking, which is what I did. And yeah, we got up the top of the zigzag. Once you get up there, you've got a little bit downhill, and then you back up, and then down, and then back up. And yeah, it was tough going. It was slow. I don't remember if we heard any roaring.
Yeah, we did. On the sort of halfway up the zigzag. Yeah, there was another one that came in reasonably close there, but that was the only other animal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, the goal was, we weren't hunting, of course. We were just grinding our way back to the truck.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think we probably got between 2/3 and 3/4 away.
Yeah.
Probably a little bit over half, or
maybe,
somewhere around there.
Maybe about half, because I remember thinking it's all ages back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hit a moment kind of like what Cody did, and I was basically done. And I said to Cody, look, just go, just please go. I could tell I was holding him back. He had a little bit left more in the tank than I did. And I said, if you can go and get back to me, then I'm going to make it out.
Yeah. And that's the only way I'm going to make it out.
Yeah. Is that what you remember of that moment?
Yeah. You have to go and get back. If you can walk any faster than me, then you go, get back, empty your bag, and then come back and take some weight off me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so then I was on my own, which didn't help the situation, but I knew that Cody, being the type of person that he is, he would make it back and he would come back to me. And he'd probably make it back to me faster than what I was going to expect. Which is exactly what happened. I don't know how you got back as quickly as you did. But
yeah, it was, I really, really was apprehensive to leave, because we were still walking out some pretty dodgy stuff, and with these packs on, if we were to go, then there was no stopping, and you were rolling to the bottom of wherever we were. Yeah. And I didn't want to split up for that reason, and just we sort of mentally needed each other's support to even if we sat down, and we were sitting down every 20 metres at this point, we needed to help each other up. We physically couldn't stand up by ourselves. So when Troy was saying, Cody, you're going to have to go, I was like, wow, how are we going to do this by ourselves? So yeah, it was scary in a few different ways, but I just had to do it.
Something just happened in that moment, didn't it?
Yeah.
And we both got what we needed to.
Yeah.
And then so you got back.
Yeah. And emptied the bag out, and that was usually you get to the ute and it's the most relieving thing in the whole world, especially after that walk. And for me it wasn't the same because I had to turn around and go back.
Go back to me.
Yeah. And I was so stuffed that I even got, there's a little, at the car park there's a little cover, and it's only about 15 metres from where the ute was parked, and I had to sit down there for 10 minutes because I that last 15 metres I couldn't even do, so I had to sit there and but then once I got that pack off, got a bit of energy, and I can't remember if it was a fast walk or a jog back towards Troy. Yeah.
But you got back fast, and it was one of the best sights I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And of course, the weight that you took off me, it felt like I just had nothing on my back anymore.
Yeah, and I had to, so I brought my day pack back empty and filled it up with meat, and it was so heavy of the meat, and I don't even think it was all your meat. I could hardly get that on my back. And as soon as I took that, then I couldn't keep it, then Troy was off. I couldn't even keep up with him. So I was like, oh, awesome. See you later.
Yeah, I remember you saying something like, I can't believe how much weight I've got, and then you've still got, on your back.
Yeah, because Troy definitely, we haven't said this actually, but Troy definitely had more weight in his bag than I did. When I felt the weight of that meat, I was like, wow, that's just...
Yeah, I think I probably tried hard to keep that from you.
Yeah. And I sort of picked that up because I knew you were... you would get through a walk like that better than I would, and for you to be basically saying, I can't do it, you need to go and come back and help me.
Plus, I train for the Raw specifically. Like, I do train all year round, but I actually strength train and cardio train for these types of events, and so that I can do it, and so that I can help people, and Codi does too, so we were fit, we were strong, we were up for it, and years of experience of doing similar things, whether it's Codi carrying out pigs or me carrying out deer and stuff over the years, but we far exceeded what we should have been doing. But I got I don't know what wind, it wasn't a second or a third, or who knows what wind it was, but I got enough wind to get me back to that truck. And Codi was the reason for that, and we made it to the truck. That was quite a moment. We filled up that chili bin, like you said, we had to compress it down into a big 75 litre chili bin.
And that's
jam-packed.
That's when we sort of guessed what our weight must have been, because we were trying to do the calculations of, if that's 75 litres of meat.
And then we had the heads, even I picked up your head before.
I know,
And with nothing on it now, even that weighs probably
it's heavy.
Close to 10 kilos. It's crazy. And you had that, plus this one strapped on.
Plus everything saturated.
Yeah. So, we're back at the truck. We still had, I think, probably, 4 hours to get you home?
Yeah, easy.
And then, did we go to our parents after?
You might. I got Sarah to pick me up in T-Rail.
Okay, that's right, So we went our ways from there.
Yeah.
And I carried on to my parents.
The meat off.
And I think later that night, that's when my mum pointed out my my tricep and all the bruising, and it was already bright yellow, I think, was the colour initially it was. So I was like, oh, that's why it's so sore. So, but we'd made it back. We travelled back somehow and got back to our respective homes. And then it was time for recovery. Which I remember, I think I had a bath when I got home that night. And I could not believe how sore my body was. My body was the sorest over everything, every muscle, every joint. It was just pain everywhere. And I know Cody will be the same or worse as well, but I didn't know something that happened during your recovery. So do you talk to that?
In fact, I even forgot about this. My body, we got some photos, but the bruising and the scratches and stuff on both legs, both arms, the stab wound from the antler, it was unbelievable. But Sarah, my wife, only told me this the other day, and I forgot. She said that because we were talking about doing this, and she told me that I was actually having nightmares and I couldn't sleep for about a week during the night. So I actually don't remember that, but she was saying, do you not remember the nightmares? You were waking up with these terrors or whatever, and not sleeping for a week.
And you were bruised and battered and antler stabs and all sorts.
But Sarah's parents actually have told her that they thought there's more to the story, that we weren't letting anyone know that we actually got found in the bush and beaten. They thought there's something weird about there's more to that story that they're not telling us. Well,
you know they're going to know now.
Yes.
And we did get beaten.
We did. Yeah.
Oh, it wasn't by another human.
Yeah.
But boy, I think I would have preferred to get beaten by another human.
Yeah, that was,
Oh. So, what did you learn, Cody, and what would you do different?
A lot. Well, first of all, there's just absolutely no way you can either shoot that many animals and take, if you're like us and going to take the meat, then you need to know your limits. Yeah. And two animals was already exceeding, even the amount of meat that we took off those two animals is probably too much.
Yeah.
Like true. We're talking you took all the neck meat, you took every ounce of meat off. So too much meat, and we probably should have called it earlier and put the tents up earlier maybe, or ditch some of the meat.
For safety, maybe. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Dumping some meat.
Yeah.
It would have felt terrible.
Yes.
But maybe for safety, and maybe some people comment on this, say that that's obviously what we should have done.
Oh yeah, there's going to be a lot of people saying,
which is fine, because
get rid of that meat in the first 10 minutes. You would have thrown the meat out of your bag.
But we're being transparent. We're being honest. We made some mistakes.
Yeah.
It's just but we want others to learn, but we don't want to hide anything. We want to be really honest and bring the whole trip and not leave anything out.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think, just the respect for the bush and, it'll just beat you, man. We could have easily not come home from that trip, which is scary to think now.
Oh, it's just one of those scary meant to be things with my fall and your fall. Yeah. How was that not worse? I fully I went backwards right over with that, bag that we're estimating, whatever the weight was, ridiculous, with these sticking out and beside me, and tumbled through the bush and free fell, and then you did it an hour later or half an hour later, and it's just one of those, we were meant to make it out of the bush.
I think we certainly had some protection over us, and we still had a lot of life to live, so that wasn't going to be the end. And I think between us two, we're probably two of the most determined people out there. And we did it.
Yeah.
3 stags down, 20 hours out. And boy, we learned some lessons. But I think in terms of my best hunt and my biggest adventure ever, I'll never beat it.
Yeah.
I've got amazing memories with lots of different members of my family and friends, which are right up there. But this had everything.
Yeah.
In terms of being a red stag hunter, the close-up encounters, the success, the 3 stags, and then the journey out, which will go down in history, is one of the biggest feats I've ever made, but also probably one of the most stupidest.
Yeah, and you can easily say we'll never do anything harder, because there's just we've learnt lessons on that trip that we wouldn't do that again. There'd be something different that we would never get ourselves into that situation again. Yeah. So.
Yeah, well, guys, we'll wrap up here, and thanks for tuning in. It's probably been a bit of a marathon wherever you've come into the story or you've listened to it in parts. Just really appreciate you getting on board. We're going to have lots of this coming up through our channels and New Zealand Park Hunting. We're going to have guests just like Codi popping up, and we'll have some fresh stories coming up. We'll have some historic ones, but we just really want to capture the essence of what this backcountry hunting is all about, and the teamwork, the ups and the downs, and just why we love it so much. Sometimes you get the animal, sometimes you get the story. Respect the land, respect the hunt. We'll see you next time.
Big thank you to you, Codi. What an incredible adventure, and I'm just so thankful for you being so vulnerable and sharing your memories and your side of the story. I'm sure we'll see you again soon on another podcast.